Hi everyone, my name is Mike Giannotti from the Google Business Solutions team. Today we're hosting our live stream for the home and garden industry, and I'm pleased to say we have two very special guests joining us here. The first is Samar from the Google retail team, who's going to tell us a little bit about some of the latest trends in the home and garden industry. And then secondly, I'm going to be joined on stage for a Q&A with Tom Morel. Tom Morel is from Walls and Floors. He's going to tell us a little bit about his company's journey in advancing some of their digital strategies. Along the way, please feel free to ask us some questions. So we have a button down below. If you ask the question there, at the end of the session, I'm going to have the guests back up on stage, and I'll ask those questions directly to them. So please do submit us your questions live. So we're going to get started now. I'd like to invite Samar up on stage. Thanks again for joining us, and we're looking forward to receiving your questions and talking to you at the end of the session. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. So as Mike said, I'm Samar, and I'm an industry analyst in the home and garden sector here in the UK. And I'm here to talk to you today about reaching your customers this spring. So what I'd like to leave you with today is an understanding of the customer journey in the home and garden sector at this important time of the year. I find that a useful way of approaching this is by asking three crucial questions. 1, who are your customers? 2, what are they looking for at any given moment? And 3, how are they doing this? And I'd like you to keep these questions in the back of your mind as I go through the presentation. So a good place to start is by having a general overview of the sector over the year. And over here, what you can see is the top rising consumer searches in the home and garden sector here in the UK. It's really interesting once you try and draw out the trends that are happening over the month. So, for example, starting off in January, you can see that consumers are looking for home inspiration as they start acting out on their New Year's resolutions. As spring approaches, consumers start looking for garden furniture as the weather starts to improve. And then shifting into autumn, they start looking for garden tools to help them clear the leaves from the trees. And finally, going into December, consumers start looking for furniture deals as they start to prepare for the winter sales period. Now, having looked at what consumers are searching for in any given month, let's take a closer look at the opportunity that these search trends present for your business. So here you can see the seasonal patterns and search volumes in the home and garden sector over the year. And just taking a quick glance, it's very easy to see that the biggest spike in home and garden searches happen over the Christmas period. Now, in my experience, retailers are familiar with this trend and they're pretty prepared for it. So, they know that the busy Christmas period is coming up and they kind of plan ahead. But what's important is not to miss out on key opportunities at other times of the year. So, kind of looking at this, taking Christmas aside, what's interesting to note is that Easter is actually the biggest opportunity in home and garden outside of the Christmas period. And so for you, it's a really, really crucial moment to connect with your customer. Now, let's try and get into the head of the customer to try and understand what's driving this pattern in search trends over the year. So market research shows that the biggest growth category in home and garden over Easter is DIY. And if we think about it, it makes sense, right? So consumers are basically, at this time of the year, they're looking to, improve their homes and prepare their homes for the summer months. And the 4-day bank holiday weekend gives them the time to actually do this. So if you're a player in the DIY sector, Easter is a really, really big opportunity for your business. Now, so far, we've looked at online consumer behavior. What are consumers searching for online? But search volumes aside, what are customers actually purchasing during Easter? If you look at this slide, what you can see is furniture actually accounted for 1/3 of total retail sales growth in Easter last year. If we take a moment to try and just think about the trends we've identified so far. So first of all, we're seeing that home and garden searches increase over the Easter period. So that's what we're seeing online. Secondly, what we're seeing is that home and garden products, such as furniture, fuel overall retail sales growth over the Easter period. So this is a really clear example of online to offline interaction, with online research leading to offline purchases. So as I mentioned before, DIY is a really, really big category over the Easter period. And what we know is that customers have a 4-day weekend where they can do their DIY activity. And we also know that there's a heightened search volumes over this period. But rather than looking at the Easter period as a whole, let's break it down by day. So what you can see here is the search volumes for DIY over the Easter period in the last few years. And in addition to the fact that DIY has been growing year over year each Easter, I'd like to actually draw your attention to 2 dates in particular. So what we can see here is that the big spike in DIY searches happened on Easter Sunday. Now, a lot of us already know that, but what's actually interesting is that there's a mini peak in searches for DIY on Good Friday. And so if you want to reach your customer this spring, you need to make sure that you're capturing that peak in demand on the Friday because you don't want to miss out. And also you don't want your customer to miss out on you. So, we've looked at, what consumers are searching for and when they start searching for DIY over the Easter period. But another really, really important part of the equation is where they're searching, because that's going to enable you to find out how you can find them. Over 60% of DIY searches on Easter Sunday last year came from mobile. Only 20% came from desktop. Now, it's not unusual for us to see mobile searches overtake desktop on the weekends, but having over 3 times as many mobile searches as desktop is very unique to the DIY sector. And so if you're a player in this space, having a mobile-first strategy is really, really crucial to connecting to your customer, because you need to make sure that you're capturing that mobile demand over the peak seasons. So, so far we focused a lot on sort of, what's happening on Google search and what are consumers searching for on Google. But Google's only part of the story. Today, consumers use YouTube as well for their online research. In fact, YouTube is the world's 2nd largest search engine. If we look at the Easter period last year, we see that DIY customers generated nearly around 10 million views last year alone. And that had an average engagement of about 3 minutes per view. And if we ask ourselves who are these people who are watching these videos, over 2/3 of these viewers are aged between 25 and 54. Now, what's interesting is that a lot of home and garden retailers actually focus on this very demographic. And so going into the Easter season this year, you need to make sure that you're connecting with your audience on YouTube, because if they're there, you should be there too. Now, what I find really interesting about the DIY sector is that the customer journey doesn't finish at the point of sale. If a customer comes into your stores and buys some laminate flooring, they then want to know how they can actually lay that flooring in their homes. And actually, an interesting stat from Mintel shows that 1/3 of consumers feel that they lack the necessary skills to carry out DIY work in their own homes. And, gone are the days of 50-page manual guides on, how to put a shelf together. Nowadays, consumers want an interactive and engaging and concise format. And that's why a lot of consumers are actually turning to YouTube for answers to their DIY questions. How to lay laminate flooring, how to plaster a wall, how to tile a shower wall. These are the kind of questions that consumers are turning to YouTube and asking, and especially on Easter break when DIY is such a big category. And so, if building brand loyalty is important to you, you need to make sure that you're on YouTube, both to reach your customer pre-purchase as well as post-purchase. Now, let's go back to the 3 questions that I raised at the start. Who are your customers? What are they looking for? And how are they doing this? Let's answer the what. Consumers are looking for home and garden products, specifically DIY, over the Easter period. How are they doing this? Consumers are on mobile, and also they're searching on YouTube in addition to Google search. And who are these customers? Predominantly, they're 25 to 54-year-olds who are looking for your products. And also what we've seen is that online consumer behavior plays a really important role in how they end up in your store. So going into Easter this year, make sure that your digital strategy is aligned with all stages of the customer journey. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Samar. So now I'm just going to invite Tom Morel to the stage. Tom is from Walls and Floors, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his company and his experience in growing their online presence. So Tom, if you want to come over here and we'll take a seat.
Thanks, Mike.
Please sit down. Great. So I guess if we could just get started, if you just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the company.
Sure. So I'm Tom Morel. I'm Web Development Manager at Walls and Floors. I head up everything digital at Walls and Floors across all the channels that we work on digitally. At Walls and Floors, we're a tile company based in Kettering. First opened our doors in 1987. I was only young then. And we small tile shop, and we evolved into launching online in 2004. The first first people to sell tiles online.
Is that right?
And in 2012, we relaunched the website shortly after I joined, just over 5 years ago now.
Fantastic. And I think over the past 5 years, you were saying it's been a big journey for you and the company with where you were digitally and where you've gotten to now. Maybe you could just take us through some of those first few steps of how that journey began to getting to where you are now.
Sure. It's been a huge journey for me in particular. When I first joined Walls and Floors, I was straight out of university. Just done a dissertation all about SEO and PPC as a marketing tool. So I had this opportunity at Walls and Floors. There was just me, so one to start with. There's now 7 of us in my team. And I just really, as soon as I arrived, I saw there's a huge opportunity here. We've got a website. There's an opportunity to optimize it. We didn't have any data. We didn't have anything. The decisions that were being made were very much kind of a bit of guesswork, a bit of should we change this? So one of the first things I did was make sure we had Google Analytics, so we could really look at the data. And this definitely opened the doors massively for us. We all of a sudden could understand what our customers look like, where they go before, what they search, what they do when they're on our website, what they do when they leave. So it was really that was the change that happened, was first opening all this data to us and really starting to use it.
So I can imagine, going from almost zero data online to having all these massive amounts of data, then presents sort of a second challenge, which is, okay, what do you do next? So can you maybe tell us, what were the first things that you did to kind of look in the right places? What did you find actually for your business were the right places to prioritize when looking at that data?
Obviously this opened up a huge, massive data that we'd never seen before.
Bit of a can of worms.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd walk into meetings with all this data all of a sudden. I think the first thing really was looking at, once people got to our website, kind of how did they get there? So what keywords did they come in on? And what did they do when they're there? So if there was, look at exit rates, bounce rates really closely and kind of find, well, if all this traffic is coming to our website, coming to this page, what's making them leave? Why aren't they buying? So then we'd look at conversion rates very closely and try and just optimize and keep iterating to kind of keep improving ourselves. So I wasn't too obsessed with looking at our competitors, and I thought we'll do our own thing here. We'll use our data and we'll just try and improve ourselves. And that's been an upward journey that we've been on for the last few years, where we just have took the data ourselves, started testing ourselves. I always say that the data is easy to collect. It's great to have. The art of it is really understanding it and then communicating that across the business. It was small steps. It definitely isn't something that's happened overnight at all, but definitely something that you really need to pick out, try and find the weakest areas of the site and work on those. You could have the most amazing advertising strategy on AdWords, but if your on-site isn't great, you're going to lose a lot of traffic as well. So there was 2 parts. It was really improving the on-page, the actual website, trying to improve that conversion rate, and then came the advertising side, which was a big shift for us as well. We originally used an agency, but I wasn't really happy that I thought we could do more. I thought we could, with my background that I'd done PPC before, I thought if we could understand this, we could bring this in-house. So I became a Google certified partner, took 6 exams, got myself fully qualified. And then we took the gamble we took the decision to bring it in-house about 3 years ago, and that was a huge shift then. We completely rebuilt our whole advertising campaign from search, display, video. We did completely rebuilt then.
And I guess, you talked a little bit about some of the internal data that drove a lot of that. We just heard from Samar, who was telling us a little bit about some of the industry data and some of the big trends that are going on in terms of seasonality and other sort of consumer trends. Can you tell us a little bit, as our audience is tuning in, trying to learn about what they can do before Easter, bank holidays, a little bit about what the role of how do you plan for seasonality within your business, and how you kind of collect external data and actually learn about consumers and plan your year?
Sure. Again, this was something we didn't have any kind of plan, any strategy when I first started. So this great tool called Google Trends that we stumbled across, and that really helped us really plan and appreciate what our audience are looking for and when. So we could really see, obviously tiles is like our main thing we sell, so that's our main keyword. We could see peaks and dips throughout the whole year, and in particular we'd see the Easter peak. Obviously it's a big DIY weekend, so we could see this. I could bring this into meetings and say, look, these are going to be the peaks online. This is when it's going to drop as well, so it's not suddenly a panic. I think that's something that we've really understood now and really got to the bottom of, that we can prepare ourselves internally. We know these times are going to be busy. We know it's going to be a bit quieter here.
Sure.
We need to prep, and we need to make sure that message is communicated throughout the business, from our samples team, picking samples, to our warehouse, to really make sure we're prepped. And Google Trends has really helped us there. It's been the main driver to help us build kind of a 12-month plan, and really appreciates things like the Easter peaks.
And is there anything you've done tactically to use any of that data when it actually comes to putting it in practice into some of your campaigns?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of my favourite stories at Walls and Floors. Identified a keyword that was constantly being searched called split-face tiles. Now, I had no idea what split-face tiles were.
What is it?
So they're like, I'm going to bore you now, they're like an uneven slate tile wall that go on the wall. I had to Google image it, and I took this to our sourcing team and said, guys, this keeps being searched for. I don't know what it is, but I'm pretty confident if we can bring this in and stock it in our warehouse, we can sell this online. They were kind of like, yeah, okay. The guy with all the data's coming at us, yeah, whatever. Took me about 2 months of campaigning, saying, look, here's a trend. This isn't stopping. This is getting more and more. I can't see anyone else selling this online. If we can get this in, trust me, just let's give it a go. 3 months later, I get a phone call saying, we've got split-face tiles in stock. I was like, great, okay. We'll get some traffic to it and let's see what happens. Obviously, it was all on me now. Suddenly, yeah. I was campaigning to get this, and now suddenly we've got them in stock. So it's kind of pressure was on a little bit. So we set up its own campaign, traffic straight to this great page full of images, exactly what people would want. I get a phone call 4 weeks later. We've sold out of split-face tiles. We need more. I said, can we get more? Yeah, we can get more. Great. Well, we can carry on. So more and more into stock. Got this split face in stock. And 3 years on, this is about 3 years ago, it's still in our top 10 bestsellers, month in, month out. And that was the real start at Walls and Floors, where it probably was gone from, we've got loads of data, we're half listening, to suddenly they were coming to me and saying, right, what's the next big thing? What do we need to get in? Which was great, because all of a sudden they were really listening to us then. And we've got hundreds of stories like that. Moroccan tiles is another one. But it was great. That was the turn of confidence, I think, when suddenly it was, we need to use this data, and it's making a real difference.
That's fantastic when a marketing department can actually go to play that kind of a role within a company. I think one of the other things that Samar mentioned, which I was curious to hear your thoughts on, is this whole idea of really companies having a big role in the home and garden sector to play both before and after purchase, especially around DIY, how-to, and things like this. It'd be great if you could share anything that Walls and Floors is doing in this space, any learnings or other information.
Yeah, I think this again has been part of the learning curve. People don't just use Google to search. We've done YouTube campaigns, so we've really had to really appreciate the whole funnel now of what our customers look like. From the very high end of people researching, maybe like how-to videos, so how to tile. We've done a whole series of how to tile a floor, how to tile a wall. So we're kind of putting, when people search for these videos, we're coming up then, and then we're hopefully giving them a bit of trust and confidence. If they haven't seen us before, they'll be like, oh, Walls and Floors have helped us out there. And they sell tiles, so it's helped us a little bit. And post-purchase as well, people will buy tiles and then need to maybe want to have a go at a bit of DIY and fitting and laying the tiles themselves. So again, our videos have come in and helping these people, and they've had thousands of views now. It's really been, we've done a whole series of great videos. Yeah, it's just helping the customer along, really, not just being there when they're searching for tiles on Google, which we are. I think we dominate really well, but also helping them right at the start of their journey when they need inspiration, when they need how-tos, and also helping them after. And I think the video side has really helped as well. I'm sure we'll do plenty more of those in the future.
Good to know. Just to remind our viewers that in a couple of minutes we're just going to go to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, please do submit them below, and I'll ask that to Tom and Samar. Just last couple of questions from me, Tom. I guess one of the other big trends that we saw is obviously, and it's no news to anyone that mobile, especially in home and garden, when people have time off on weekends, it's really their primary device, and obviously has a huge impact for marketers and companies. It'd be great just to hear your perspective on, what are the opportunities for companies? How have you kind of thought about that? Anything that you're doing to sort of optimize that experience?
Sure, yeah. I think everyone's been aware that mobile, everyone's been saying it's going to be the year of mobile. I think without a doubt that's happened now. And for us, in the past 18 months, that's really, really changed. We're finding people are finding us on mobile first instead of desktop now, which has had to completely change the way we think about our plans online and developments on the website. We've really had to think mobile first. How is this going to look on a mobile? How are people going to interact on a smartphone? And we've really invested heavily in not just advertising on mobile, but also making sure our website is really optimised on a mobile well. Mm-hmm. We've got some really good plans in the future coming. But that shift of being there when people are searching on mobile, we've made sure we're there, and that then has an impact on people coming to the desktop site and converting. So cross-device has been huge for us in the past 18 months. I think we've really had to realise that if we're not there on mobile when people are looking for us or people are looking for tiles, they might not see us at all. So we've had to really kind of get that seamless journey and try and help people along and make sure we're in front of people. So mobile has been really interesting and a real shift. And I think we're really learning a lot, and I think there's more to come on there as well.
Fantastic. And maybe you could just tell us a little bit about any of the specifics around any campaigns that you've been running, advertising campaigns with Google, and any major learnings that you've gained from those campaigns, and any tips that you could share with the viewers.
Sure. I think this sort of thing doesn't happen overnight. It really hasn't at Walls and Floors. It's been a lot of work, analysing and a lot of testing. I think absolutely we've had to use this data and really try and understand it.
Sure.
Really understand the customer and what they want and where they go, where they might see us. So it could be we've done some good display stuff on blogs that are related to tiles. So that kind of art of really understanding the data and communicating that internally, and testing stuff as well is key. I think it's again, this sort of stuff doesn't happen overnight. I think it's we might run 7 or 8 tests, and okay, you might fail a few times. It's not nice. No one likes to fail, but we kind of, if we do, fail fast, on to the next one. But out of all the tests we're doing, there might be 1 or 2 that are suddenly game changers, and stuff like Google Trends has been a game changer. And I think if anyone's starting out and doesn't really know where to start with, particularly with AdWords, is just having one campaign for your main keyword, and just collecting some data and seeing. You're going to have to negate some keywords maybe, but just even if it's on for 1 day or a week, 2 weeks, just to gain some data and then learn from that. And that's how we scaled up at Walls and Floors. We started with 1 campaign. We now must have about 70, and it's kind of that first campaign gave us the learnings that we needed to find out what was successful and what isn't successful, and then the ones that are successful, scale them up and keep building. And that's the way we've gone in the past 5 years, definitely.
And making sure you have the full tracking infrastructure in back of that.
Absolutely, yeah. Conversion tracking, we'd be nowhere without that, so that's so key, yeah.
And I guess I'll end on my last question before inviting Samar back up. But are there maybe a couple key takeaways that you'd like to just share with any other businesses in the sector that, again, are not as digitally advanced, more broadly or more specifically, things that, from your experience, literally, again, going from a very almost zero to flying high. If you could share any main tips, that'd be fantastic.
Absolutely. Data in analytics is so key. Yeah. That's going to give you a real insight into your audience and give you a real insight into how your website's performing. And you can really make some educated decisions then, not just, should we change this colour because we think we should change it? Or here's the data to say we should do this. So really making justified decisions then. Testing, you've got to test. I think we've learnt that. you've got to. We love it when a new product comes out with Google because we can right. Let's test it. Let's give it a go. It might not work, but it might be the thing that really changes and really helps us and boosts us again. And just understanding that whole customer journey, that people be there when they're researching and when they want to be inspired, and being where they want when they want to buy, and then being there after as well to help them along again. I think that kind of that strategy can really just help grow people, help grow businesses 100%.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. So now this is your chance to ask questions to the speakers. I'm going to invite Samar to join us back up on stage. Again, the button is just down below. If you submit it there, it's going to come right to my phone. I'm just going to check in on the form now just to see if anybody's been submitting the questions. But first, I'm going to start off with one of my own. Samar, this is, I think, going to be for you. You talked a lot, obviously, about some of the trends around Easter and the bank holidays, and that's obviously been the focus of our conversation today. I guess one question is, obviously companies are kind of having different challenges throughout the year. How should companies kind of think about capturing different occasions throughout the year and thinking about that holistically? If you can maybe just give any advice from your experience, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so in my experience of working with retailers, I think the ones that have really been able to kind of capture the kind of peak seasons for their categories are the ones who had like a fully fledged plan and planned ahead. So just thinking of examples, I've seen kind of full year planning, weekly planning, what are their big categories, mapping that against the kind of search trends that, companies like yours are looking at, and then actually integrating that into their media strategy. And so, I think, within Home and Garden, you have the winter sales period, but, as soon as that's over, they have to start, really thinking about Easter that's coming up and then the May bank holidays. So I think the ones that do really well are the ones who kind of know ahead of time what are the categories that are going to peak at which time in the year, and making sure that their media strategy is aligned with that.
Anything to add to that, Tom?
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. I mean, trends has really helped us plan, and that is such a huge thing. And I know one of the hardest things is making sure that flows through the business. So it's all great that kind of the marketing team know what's happening, but does the warehouse know? Does the delivery kind of team know? So it's really enabled us to prep. And I think that has given us the edge, because we haven't been shocked by what's happening. We've kind of been prepared for it and ready. And equally, even if there's a dip, which happens, we're ready for it. There's not a panic. So that preparation is really, really key to us. I suppose we were almost lucky that when I came in, there was no plan. So to come in and suddenly deliver a plan has really changed walls and floors here.
Great. I have a question here. So Frank is asking, he's had success on search before, but has not been able to crack display. So if you have any experience in display, particularly within the home and garden sector, tiles more specifically, any tips that you can share?
I'd say it is different to search. I think you've got to appreciate that maybe the advertising you're doing on display is very different from the kind of advertising you're doing when people are actively searching for a product on Google and seeing your ad, and then they're very much in market on display. There could be, we have good success with related blogs like home inspiration blogs. We have a great set of display ads that are on there. So it's kind of, I think it's very difficult to kind of look at display and say, right, I expect X conversion off all of this. I think you've got to look at the metrics a little bit differently. But I think it's great brand awareness. You get a huge impression share out of it, which can then lead on to improving the search side. So it's kind of, again, the upper funnel is the display side, and that forces the lower funnel when people are going to purchase to really drive you've got awareness, and then you drive that intent into search.
And of course, one of the big trends right now is also integrating more audience-based signals and remarketing and so on to enhance display as well. Samar, were you going to say something?
So yeah, I was just going to add to that. I mean, when we sort of talk about display in YouTube, we tend to use the language a lot around audience, and so that's kind of how we think about it. If you think of a typical home and garden retailer and you think about the customer segments that they have, what we try and do is work closely with them to try and understand who their customer is, how they look on our platforms, and how they can target them. So it's very much kind of an audience picture, which is different to how you think of search in the traditional way.
Absolutely. So I'd like to ask you a question now on competition. So obviously, there are a lot of spaces online that are quite competitive. It'd be really good to understand, Tom, from your perspective and your experience. Obviously you go head to head against a lot of the big competitors in the tile category. How do you kind of think about that, and what are some of the approaches that you've had to sort of be able to be successful?
I think, when we do go head on with a lot of the big players in the home and garden industry, and I think the difference with us is our campaign is very, very granular and very we've tailored it almost to the right category or range or even individual tile, and that means that when people search, let's say Moroccan tiles, you'll see us dominate the search results and shopping, which is great. And you'll see other competitors on there that maybe direct to the homepage of their website, whereas ours will go straight to the product page of Moroccan tiles. So I think we've got the edge there on performance. I think if people are looking for Moroccan tiles, with one click they want to see Moroccan tiles and buy Moroccan tiles. They don't really want to go to a homepage and search and find. So I think that's really given us the edge, that we pay a lot of attention to detail, and we really look at our search reports and really try and make the user journey as short as possible. And I think you can see that when you Google any kind of tile keyword, you'll see how accurate our ads are.
Let's see if our users will test you out later. Well, thanks so much for joining us. That's going to be all the time that we have today, but thank you, Tom. Thank you, Samar. Just as a reminder, we're going to be sending out a follow-up email with some content from today, as well as some of the main takeaways. And if you'd like to speak to a Google specialist about some of the challenges that you're having for your business, there's a button down below where you can actually request an appointment to talk to a specialist. So thank you very much again for joining us today, and we really appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thanks.